Hello, everybody, and welcome. Since I was up here 3 minutes ago, it's already filled out a lot more, so it's great that you are all here. Welcome to the launch event for the Derby Poverty Truth Commission. My name is James. I'm the Senior Project Coordinator for the Derby Poverty Commission, and part of my responsibility is organising the Poverty Truth Project, which we'll find out lots more throughout the day about.
And I'm Reverend Sharon Murphy. I lead a fresh expression of church in Derby called Derwent Oak, and I've been helping to facilitate the Poverty Truth Commission. So today we gather here with a shared purpose to confront the realities of poverty and engage in meaningful dialogue that will shape a future of compassion, equality, and justice for all. In this room, we have individuals from different walks of life coming together as a diverse tapestry of experiences, perspectives, and expertise. We have community leaders, advocates, decision makers, and most importantly, individually, namely Helen, Nikita, Christine, Denise, Elaine, Jane, and Julie, who have first-hand experiences with the challenges of poverty. It is this rich tapestry of voices that will be the driving force behind our efforts.
So today we embark on a journey. It's a journey of understanding, a journey of finding truth, and a journey of empowerment, especially for this table down to my left. The Derby Poverty Truth Commission, we hope, is not just another initiative. It is part of a much wider, stronger network, a powerful movement of Poverty Truth Commissions up and down the country that are joined together by the Poverty Truth Network. And the network simply aims to amplify the voices of those with lived experience. It's an opportunity for those who have faced hardships, who have faced the realities of poverty firsthand, to share their stories, their struggles, and their hopes. It's a platform for them to be heard and acknowledged, but most importantly, it's an opportunity and a platform for their wisdoms to help, hopefully, shape policies and procedures in the future.
And as we come together, let's remember that poverty is not an isolated issue. It affects us all, directly or indirectly. It touches the lives of our neighbours, our friends, and sometimes even our own families. It's a challenge that requires collective action, collaboration, and shared commitment to creating a more equitable society.
Our hope for today's event is that it's not a woe is me event, but we rather get to celebrate the strengths and resilience of individuals and communities across Derby who have faced adversity. We want to honour them by acknowledging the courage that it takes them to get up on this stage. And we recognise that within these stories lie the seeds of change, ideas, innovations, solutions that can guide us towards a brighter future.
And we also recognise the 7 here today do not represent the totality of the issue in Derby, but they do represent a valid portion. I am sure that you will find astounding quite how many issues and themes rise to the surface through what is just a handful of small stories today.
But let us not forget one of the most crucial aspects of our gathering today, and that is the power of unity. We're all here today because you're interested in the topic. We're here because we believe in the fundamental principle that no one should be left behind, that every individual deserves to walk this earth with dignity, opportunity, and a chance to thrive.
So I want to embrace you to embrace this moment and to open your hearts and minds and to engage with the discussions that lie ahead. Together we can change and challenge the status quo, break down barriers and build a society where poverty is not a barrier to success, but a challenge we collectively rise to overcome.
When King Charles became king last year and he passed on the title of the Prince and Princess of Wales to William and Catherine, he said this about them. He said, "I know that they will continue to inspire and lead on national conversations, helping to bring the marginalised to the centre ground where vital help can be given. And that is exactly what today is. This process, which will be explained shortly, is all about bringing those marginalised into the conversations, building relationships that wouldn't ordinarily happen, and through deep listening and learning, understanding the wisdom that can be joined when lived experience hold conversations with those in power.
And finally, you will find on your table what looks like leaves of a tree. You might find some pink blossom as well. We would love to create a tree of life out of this event. So with your leaves, as you go through the event, hearing people's stories and discussing different things, if something poignant pops up that sparks your interest or makes you alter a way of thinking, challenges a status quo, or have a word of encouragement, we'd love you to write onto the leaves those words and attach them to the tree as you leave outside. And the pink blossom, would you keep hold of that until the end, and we will tell you more about that later.
I'm now going to invite up the Dean of Derby, Peter Robinson. Peter is the chair of the Derby Poverty Commission, and he's going to quickly paint a scene for you as to how we've got here today.
Well, here we are. After so much planning, so many hopes, and it's great to sense that anticipation in the room as we launch the Poverty Truth Commission. So I want to add my welcome to those you've received from James and Sharon. A very warm welcome to you all. As James said, I'm Peter Robinson, I'm the Dean of Derby, but I'm also the independent chair of the City of Derby's first Poverty Commission. And welcome to all our guests today. The support you're showing to the Poverty Commission and our Poverty Truth Commissioners today is much, much valued, and we're grateful you've set aside a time to come and join us. And thank you to all those who've worked so hard to get to this point. My job is to say a few words about the Poverty Commission and its background. In other words, to put today's work in context. The setting up of the Poverty Commission in Derby was first mooted in the autumn of 2020 by the then Cabinet Member for Children's Services, Councillor Yvonne Williams. If you remember, we were 6 months into COVID with all its very significant challenges and all the uncertainties of a future that almost certainly was going to include immense financial hardship for many. And many were aware that Derby itself faced poverty challenges, for example, around low rates of social mobility, and there was a particular concern about the well-being of our children. But at the same time, the city was seeing the setting up of many collaborative partnerships. We saw the creation of the Community Hub. We saw Derby Food for Thought Alliance come into being. We saw the Rough Sleeper Initiative. We saw many partnerships being entered into by the faith communities. And there were many other signs of energy. And it was this energy across all the sectors that gave birth to the Poverty Commission. And the first steering group first met in January 2021. The first year of the Poverty Commission began in the spring of 2021 with a membership of between 20 and 30 people from all sectors and with our political colleagues as advisors. The generosity of public health, who I know are represented here today, and the local authority, supported by Community Action Derby, those partnerships enabled us to employ our first senior project coordinator from January 2022. And what a job our senior project coordinator has done in the past 17 months. And I thought it would be appropriate for us all, where's James gone? There you are, if you're the other side, just to give James a resounding round of applause. thank you, James, on behalf of us all for all the work that you've done over these past 17 or 18 months to get us to where we are today. But as I finish, let me just say a few words about why we're here and make reference to our vision and our values as a Poverty Commission. Right at the beginning, we wrote these words: "The Derby Poverty Commission seeks to focus on the real difficulties the people of Derby face with regards to poverty and the ill effects it has. When focusing on these issues, the Commission will look to advise on creating or developing locally based solutions, utilising the strengths of our own communities and organisations." Those were words we wrote around 2 years ago, and they still stand. But what are the values that we seek to live out to enable us to fulfil our vision? I'll just pick out a few of them. First of all, partnership. A very deliberate intention to occupy the partnership space in the city that was very much in development, but we realised as we began to plan that partnership, developing key relationships with bodies across all the sectors in the city, was going to be integral to anything we might contribute. It was about doing things together, learning from each other, enabling each other. The second value we decided upon was independence. We decided at an early stage that the Commission will always maintain itself as free from influence or control of any body or organisation that might seek to steer the Commission not in keeping with the Commission's purpose, vision and values. Thirdly, there were a whole group of values around inclusion, around being needs-focused, asset-based, about working from the local. But we decided quite early on that we wished to set up a Poverty Truth Commission. This was a unanimous decision by the whole Commission. It didn't actually take us very long to make the decision because it was so self-evident. But we wanted to set up a Poverty Truth Commission because we saw that that sort of structure, that sort of activity, that sort of project would help us to live out our values in a concrete way within the life of the city. But we also realised it would give us a chance to embrace two further values: the values of co-creation and the value of attending deeply to lived experience. In other words, enabling those who wouldn't usually be asked to tell their stories to have a strong voice, which would be brought into and embedded in the dialogue that we wanted to see in the city with all partners to effect change. And that vision and those values, we trust, form the backdrop of what we are doing today, and they continue to inform what we do as the Poverty Truth Commission and what we are going to experience today through the embryonic Poverty Truth Commission. So thank you for listening, and I hope that gives you a good sense of where we've come from to be here today.
So you might not have any idea as to what you've turned up today to see or to witness. What is a Poverty Truth Commission? You've heard a lot of words already, and so instead of us telling you what a Poverty Truth Commission is, we've got a short video to watch which will hopefully be illuminating for you.
Poverty Truth Commission starts with an understanding that lasting social change only happens when those who experience a struggle participate in generating change. This principle has been seen throughout history, from civil rights to suffragettes, from LGBTQ+ issues to the disability movement. And it's the principle that Poverty Truth Commissions are founded on. Nothing about us, without us, is for us. Poverty Truth Commissions start with people who know what it means to struggle against poverty. But they are not alone. There is a proverb that says, if you want to go far, go together. So a commission seeks to build relationships between people struggling against poverty and people in decision-making positions in civic and business institutions. Over time and together, they learn about the complexities of poverty and explore possible solutions. So what does a commission look like? A Poverty Truth Commission begins by bringing together a group of experts through experience, people who have faced the struggle against poverty in their own lives, usually around 12 to 15 people. This group spend time together, sharing stories, listening to one another, and building relationships. Doing this together grows confidence and builds solidarity. This phase culminates in a public event where these community commissioners collectively present their stories. This public event is attended by the civic and business commissioners, who are senior leaders from across society who have agreed to take part. Following the event, this whole group of 25 to 30 people form the full commission. A Poverty Truth Commission is not about the civic and business leaders or community commissioners fixing issues on their own. Instead, it is about building relationships of trust so that difficult conversations might happen. Learning to listen to one another is crucial. Listening beyond words to connect first and foremost as human beings. Together, commissioners identify issues and begin to experiment with possible solutions. It might be about service design, policy change, awareness raising, building wider relationships, or many other areas in which the group together have the ability to act. The changes may appear small, but the learning and impacts are significant. Commissioners take new perspectives into their communities, organisations, and everyday lives. This creates the longer-term impacts of the Commission. The Poverty Truth Commission gets beyond the stereotypes of suits and scroungers. It's no longer them and us, just a bigger us. A bigger us that when it comes to tackling poverty can say together, nothing about us, without us, is for us. To find out more about Poverty Truth Commissions, hear stories and experiences from different commissions, or to discover what is involved in running a commission, visit the Poverty Truth Network at povertytruthnetwork.org.
So hopefully you've kind of recognised what point of the journey we're at through that video. So we're at the point now where we've been meeting as a group of community commissioners for about 6 months, preparing our stories, building friendships and relationships with one another, building up to this launch event today. One of the challenges I set the group a couple of weeks ago was, what do you want to achieve from this event? Let's create a short and snappy sentence of what is our aim for this event. When I said short and snappy, they came back with a very long list. So what we did, instead of trying to condense all of that down into a short, snappy sentence, we captured some audio from the group. So I'm going to play that now. So this is what the group want to achieve going forwards.
What I want to be is treated as a human being. We're all born the same way, and we all leave this earth the same way. So why can't I be respected, not being passed from pillar to post when you're on your own with a mental health problem, trying to get help? It's like a revolving door for everything. So in the end, I just don't bother. You are here. I
Asylum seeker is not our name. Refugee is not our name. Homeless is not our name. Destitute is not our name. We are all human beings. You need only a second chance to live. Be gentle. That is all.
I want people to see that I'm a human being and that actually the difficulties that I've gone through, that actually you could have gone through this as well. So I kind of want people to think, well, how would you like to be treated? You know, would you like to be told, well, you're not ill enough to receive help, so go away? And I want people to see that I am trying and that it's exhausting trying to fight a system where I'm being passed from pillar to post, not being heard, and being patronised because I have a disability, and people see me as that disability and nothing more than that. And I want people to see that I shouldn't be treated differently, but actually I want to be seen as visible, and people to see that yes, I have down days and it's not just a phase, but I am trying and I would like to be heard and be able to advocate for myself. Thank you.
What I would like to do on the day is for all the people that are coming in, for them to put all their prejudices and views on hold and just take time, just a little bit of time, to actually look at the person who is speaking and imagine what it would be like to be in their shoes. And also to realise poverty is not a disease and not self-inflicted. The person who is in the poverty has been on a horrendous journey to get there. Also, I would like the people to feel empowered in that no matter how small their pledge, they can really make a difference. If they could just help one person by doing one little thing, it would make a huge, huge difference to the person that they are helping. Even if to them it's just a very small pledge. If they would just also be prepared to take time out to actually go up and talk to the person one-to-one and find out more about them, how they've come to be in this situation, what their hopes are, what their dreams are, and how they've come to be in the position that they are in. And I want the person or people to go away and feel like they could be part of it, part of helping, and even in a small way, of changing that person's life, allowing them just a little tiny chink of light. Make them feel they are not alone, and that Derby is a community that cares for every person, no matter what colour, no matter what gender, no matter what the person is. Thank you.
I want people attending this event to ask, what one thing can I do now that will help make a difference? And to decide to treat people with dignity, kindness, understanding and compassion, to change the lens they see people through who are struggling in poverty. How can my organisation instigate change to break down barriers for people living through poverty? How can your organisation make a difference? And finally, can I be part of the Poverty Truth Commission?
first thing I'd like to see achieved is all DHS staff trained in mental health. Staff be compassionate and have private rooms for interviewing recently bereaved people and people suffering anxiety and mental health. Abilities to see us as individuals and not one size fits all.
For people to stand up and take action, to be able for someone to say that they are willing to help make a difference and follow through with it. People to help improve their ways of judging everyone as the same. We are all our own individuals. Realisation that things need to change drastically. Supporting people in the right manner and direction to put strategies in place for everybody, not just people in certain criteria, to make a stand for change.
We're actually going to hear stories from people now. We've been working really hard on these, and it's been a lot of fun, but it's been a lot of pain as well. We're going to have some drama and some poems. So I'm going to introduce you to Denise, and Denise is going to read something, and then we're going to have a chat.
Hi. I'm reading my poem. I am a supporter, a helper, a teacher, a friend. I am a mother, an answer, or the healer that will help you mend. I am the one who could speak up for your solution, or a steady force for status, calm, order, institution. I am a deep force, or a structured controller. I am your voice to fight foe or fire or fear. I am an advocate, a bridge. What could be my scene? Whatever I choose to be, I am more than what you see. I am a caring human being. Thank you.
So Denise, can you tell us a bit about your background?
So I've lived with mental health and anxiety issues all my life. Sometimes it's been quite a struggle, because people is not there to help. But my mental health issues stems back from my childhood. I had a physically violent father who was also mentally abusive, telling me I was worthless, I was nobody, I should never have been born. Then on top of that, his friend next door abused me from the age of 13 to 16. Now, I ended up in a mental hospital at age 16. I still didn't really get the help I needed, but I was fortunate at 17 to meet my husband.
So you met your husband, and what was life like after that?
It gave me the ability to learn that I could trust people if I tried. It was very hard because I'd spent all my life not trusting. It gave me a sense of safety and a sense of belonging. And he was my strength, my tower for 43 years. But then things changed.
Can you tell us what changed?
So 2 years ago, I lost my husband after 43 years to COVID. I felt the overwhelming fear again. I didn't know where I belonged, whether I could cope, because he was my strength. Because we'd informed everybody on his death certificate that he died, my benefits stopped. I was having to pay full council tax. I'd got no income. So I made contact with the benefits office on the phone, crying my eyes out. And the lady was saying, well, you have to do it on the computer, reapply for your benefits. I said, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. My husband was always my strength. Well, there's nothing we can do. I'm really sorry. I said, but I don't know which way to turn. And I was crying so hard. She said, I can give you this direct number, which didn't turn out to be a direct number. I just felt so lost and so alone.
So, Denise, can you tell us where you're up to today?
Yes, I'm very lucky to have an amazing grandson who stepped in to be my big support. And my granddaughter sorted my benefits out for me. So I was still felt afraid, and I still felt lost, and I still felt, where do I fit in this life? You know, am I important? Am I that useless person that I was led to believe when I was younger? And as I was talking to God, I remembered the advice my gran gave me, always trust a priest. So I rang my local church, and I was crying my eyes out to the lady, which I now know as Sarah. And she said, come round, we'll support you. And fortunately for me, that's where I met Do and Tote too. And I just felt like I was part of a family, and they made me feel like I was a worthwhile person. So there is always hope, no matter what.
Denise, is there anything else you want to say?
I still have mental health struggles, which nobody seems to want to help me with at times, because we all need someone. We need someone to stand up for us and, prevent disasters, because we can't do it alone sometimes. And support is always the answer.
So looking back, what do you think would have helped?
The most important thing was the benefits lady. If she'd got the resources to say, well, okay, you're in this situation, let this lady in this department get you through this, tell you where you need to go, help you to get through it. Sorry. Because that's all we need. We struggle. There's a lot of people with mental health issues, and this is what causes people to become homeless and get into debt. And we just need that support. That's all it is. And just everyone to have empathy for each other. Thank you.
As you can see, some of these stories are quite painful, but they really need to be heard. So I want to introduce you to Elaine now. Do you want to say hello?
Hello.
So you're going to read us something, aren't you, Elaine?
I'm going to do a poem and then my report and my experience. On one size doesn't fit all. Because we need benefits to live, we're not scroungers. Your eyes can't see our hidden disabilities, yet believe me, we're suffering day by day. When you see us out and about, where we've made an effort with our parents, don't say amongst yourselves, they're not suffering with poverty, dressed like that. When you board a bus and see us occupying the front seat, don't tell us to move for a disabled person, as a disabled person is who you're talking to. When you park a car in a disabled bay and have no blue badge, don't shrug your shoulders and say that we don't matter. Get wise and realise that for the grace of God, one day you'll be one of us and in need. We all are entitled to respect. We do this first, don't we? Now, this is a short thing about my experience. I was abused in my beginning. I was in care, then long-term fostered. Life was lovely with this family. Then my foster mother died, and I changed completely. I began truancy from college. I also started self-harming and being suicidal. Eventually, I married and had 2 children. I had postnatal depression. The marriage failed, so did a second marriage and the loss of a child. 1998, I married for the 3rd time. He was lovely. We weren't well off as he was on sickness benefit minimum. 18 months later, he died. I was out my death, having to resort to reclaim him. This was my darkest time. I was suicidal and admitted to psychiatric ward and sectioned. My benefit was stopped. I became in arrears with rent, etc. Only food I had was what I received from the odd person, kind enough to give me a meal. I eventually recovered enough to move away. I had help from Citizens Advice to appeal for disability living allowance and income support. I found support with Mind and church, got into several knit and natter groups and started socialising. I led on to voluntary work with mental health organisations. When my life was occupied, I found I was becoming more confident.
So, Elaine, you suffered several bereavements. What were people's responses like?
Absolutely horrible. Putting the blame on you, that you bring it on yourself. Like saying I'm friendly with older people and they die in chronological order. Well, as you heard mentioned, I lost a child aged 3 months. So they do not die in chronological order.
Okay. What about benefits? Can you tell us what happened after your husband died?
I wouldn't like to see it happen to anybody else. I went to report it and Andy's book back and asked for reclaims. And I says, I don't know if I'm entitled to widow's benefit. And he says, how old are you? And I says, 44. She says, no, you've got to be 45. And I says, well, I don't know, you can put an age on somebody's life. And then I asked for a private room because I was upset, and she wouldn't interview me in a private room.
Okay. You said that you feel like you've been blamed a lot. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes you question, am I doing something wrong? And these people are right. But, no support, you just struggle on your own.
Okay, thank you very much, Elaine.
Dear poverty, not enough money to live on, £320 a month, but then forcing me to pay an extra £30 per month council tax, leaving me a grand total of £290 per month. I'm existing, not living as a human being. Robbing Peter to pay Paul. You try living on it for just 1 month. I challenge you.
Dear poverty, I'm struggling to pay my bills, but you don't care. Why should you? I know I will go hungry for the next week, but that won't affect you. I'm feeling so cold with no heating. You do understand coldness.
Daily struggles to provide a hot meal, struggling to keep up to date with bills, poor appearance hygiene, lack of empathy, embarrassment of asking for help, i.e. food banks, clothing, being withdrawn, being unable to afford school trips, days out, feeling isolated.
Dear poverty, you hurt me. You cause me anguish and shame. You exhaust me. You keep me awake at night wondering where the next meal is coming from. How am I going to pay the bills? The kids keep growing. They need new shoes. Their feet hurt. Their shoes are too small. I feel a failure as a mother. I can't provide for my children. I see them falling behind their friends. Life keeps coming at me and I feel desperate. You are a cruel master, poverty. You have no heart, no compassion, there is no escape.
Jane's story. We have with us today Jane, who is one of our commissioners. And if you knew Jane like we know Jane, you'd love Jane as well. Creative, fun, bubbly, just a joy to be around. Jane lives in supported housing, and the experience that she wanted to share with us today is something that happened to her when she most needed that support was lacking. We're now going to read, Jane's over here, we're now going to read an exchange of letters that illustrates one of the issues that she faced with a boiler and hot water.
Okay, well, firstly, I wrote a letter to my housing association, Metropolitan Thames Valley Housing, because my boiler had broken down 29th of December, 21. And I was told that they would come in the morning and they would fix it. No one turned up by 1 o'clock, so I rang up again. And he said it's an all-day appointment, even though it was a morning one. So then I called back again at 3:50, and I didn't hear back. So I've still got no heating. The standards of service with my housing association are absolutely terrible. You get gaslighted, and so I had no heating for the first time over Christmas. Got a second letter. This is my witness statement from my solicitor, because my boiler hadn't been working properly for around 3 years. I absolutely felt so depressed. I did go to the newspaper, the Derby Telegraph, and Housing Association managed to provide me with a fan heater. But before the article was published, they hadn't shown any willingness to try and get any heating for me. So basically, on each occasion, Metropolitan had attempted to repair the boiler with new parts, but each time these parts would take 2 to 3 weeks. So I'd have to wait for parts to be replaced in a few weeks or maybe a few days. I didn't want to spend another Christmas and New Year without heating and hot water. This would be my second year. There's, with my housing association, total lack of empathy. But the situation was very serious. My medication had to be higher dose. I felt suicidal, in tears, couldn't cope with my bipolar. I think it was 3 months the second time, and it was very, very cold. But I went through a solicitor and I won my case. I got a brand new boiler. But yeah, this is supported housing, so yeah.
So we have here, Jane summarised her letters there. These were the exchanged letters that came from various people. And basically, if we read them, you would find out that they acknowledge the complaint, but then sign it off. And it got to the point here, we've got a letter where they were threatening to take Jane to court. So thank you for sharing your story, Jane.
The world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. There are people in the world so hungry that God cannot appear to them except in the form of bread. There is enough in the world for everybody's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. When a poor person dies of hunger, it has not happened because God did not take care of her. It has happened because neither you nor I wanted to give that person what she needed. Where you live should not determine whether you live or whether you die. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich. Nothing that you have not given away will ever really be yours as long as poverty, injustice, and gross inequality exist. The world is a dangerous place. Free society cannot help the many who are poor. When a poor person dies of hunger, there is a triumph of evil. But God loves everyone in the world.
The voice that you've just heard in the recording reciting the poem is Julie. And Julie would have loved to have been here today to share her story. And if you'd have met Julie, you would love Julie. Very intelligent, very articulate, former nurse, and she's very passionate about making changes in Derby. However, if you'd have met her a couple of years ago, you might have met a very different Julie. Sharon, you met Julie a couple of years ago, didn't you? She turned up to Derwent Oak, knocked on the door, and can you tell us what she said?
Okay, so it was a Friday evening, 4:00, and Julie had been walking the streets of Derby trying to get some help. So her mum had died, and Julie was the full-time carer for her mum, and her benefits had been stopped, so Julie's benefits had been stopped. Now, Julie doesn't know how to use a computer, and she has no access to a computer, but she was told to go to the job centre and apply for universal credit. The people at the job centre told her she had to apply online. But they said the Citizens Advice Bureau could help her, so she rang them, and she rang them 6 times, and there was no reply. She went to various places. She went to the town hall. She went to lots of different places. And the reason that she turned up at Derwent Oak was because she'd been confirmed in the Church of England, in the church next to where Derwent Oak meets. And it was her last-ditch attempt to get help. And she had 96 pence in the bank. She hadn't had any gas or electricity for a couple of weeks. She hadn't eaten for a week. And when she saw it turned up on my doorstep, she was shaking and she was cold, and she had her head down and her feet were sore from the number of miles that she'd walked. Her bus pass, she couldn't use her bus pass because it was out of date. So consider this a Friday evening. So we were able to get her some emergency food. We put some gas and electric on her gas and electric cards. I sat with her, and we set up an email account, and we set up a universal credit account. And then we got her food. The other thing, Julie was very sick. She wasn't able to eat solid food. She had to have a liquid diet. She was waiting for an operation. And obviously there's quite a waiting list for those operations, so she was very, very thin. She's about 7 stone. And so we were able to get her some liquid food that she could have. And then I took her home. And we started the process of trying to get her the help that she needed. And so she was in her mum's bungalow, and Derby City Council were trying to get her out of the bungalow. She had nowhere to go. and she was threatened with eviction. And it was only really through the efforts of quite a few people, including the local councillor, that actually we managed to get the tenancy agreement made into her name. I have to say, this is one of the worst cases I have ever seen of poverty. I do not believe Julie would have survived the weekend.
Hi, a bit loud. I'm Helen. I'm lead volunteer and community voice for Enthusiasm. We work with young people and the wider community. I have seen people struggle on a daily basis where they're struggling to provide meals for family because of being on a low income or on benefits. I find it heartbreaking and wonder how we could help without embarrassing them. With the help of Heather, we set up a supper club on a weekly basis where we offered a warm, safe space where the families could come and have a hot meal and a bit of fun with their family members and other families in the area. This was a really big success, but was very rewarding to help people not have to struggle for a meal. We also offered food parcels where needed.
I have been living independently since I was 23, and I was unsure of how to run a home. Whilst living independently, I got into debt, and I'd never felt so alone. After paying my rent, I had two choices: put food in my fridge or keep my home warm. I couldn't see a way out of the darkness, and I felt that I would come to harm. I felt so alone and so isolated. My physical and mental health declined. I was scraping through on food parcels, and this was a very dark time. Do I live with the lights off? Do I borrow from a friend? I didn't know when this misery would end.
If you could see me, what would you see? A migrant, an asylum seeker, a refugee, or a sister, a widow, a mother. My name is Christine. I am from Cameroon, by the Atlantic coast where Western and Central Africa meet, where sun and white sand beaches kiss, where the smell of fresh fish, stewed leaves and shrimp fills the air. Cameroon, where respect, diversity, hard work and family are honoured. So why did I leave? In 2010, I lost my husband. Life became dangerous. I could no longer live at home. I am a widow. If you could see me, what would you see? A scrounger, a scam artist, a benefit thief, or a widow, a good listener, a human being. Some say claiming asylum is a choice, but I would never choose to leave my family, my home, my beautiful country. I would never choose not to kiss my children again. I have not held my babies in 10 years. My youngest no longer young enough for bedtime stories. I have not kissed him goodnight since I made my way across the sea. These are the years I have missed, my family growing up. I did not choose a life of struggle. I did not choose to leave my life behind. I chose life over death, safety. My journey here has not been easy. I did not choose to spend a week in a detention centre with no food for 2 days. I did not choose locked doors and handcuffs. I did not choose corridors and crying. I did not choose clipboards and questions, interviews, and tell me that story again and again and again and again. I did not choose Yarlswood. I did not choose to be treated with suspicion. I am not a liar. I have not come for an easy life. I have come to save my life. I asked for asylum 10 years on, and I'm still waiting for your answer. If you could see me, what would you see? A foreigner, a stranger, an immigrant, or a student, a hairdresser, a daughter. I am trained to cut and style hair. I speak both English and French. I study English, maths, IT. My hope is to become a nurse. I want to work. I am a hard worker. The Home Office will not allow me to work. Some politicians, some newspapers say we are here to live like kings on your benefits. I have £15 a week. Food, clothing, bills. £15 a week. I am not allowed to work. What do you see when you see me? Some politicians, some newspapers see trouble. They say I'm here to be at the top of the housing list. I was evicted from temporary accommodation. I have been homeless in Derby until the Red Cross placed me with a host family. Every night I cry. My body trembles. I feel pain all down the left side of my body. I blame myself and ask, what have I done? If you could see me, what would you see? The Home Office cannot see me. 10 years I have waited for a decision. The court said I could stay, but the Home Office appealed their decision. Derby, you cannot see me. I am a mother, a human being. I am a good listener. I am a beautiful. I am a sister. I am a daughter. I am a hairdresser. I am a student. I am Christine. I am me. Derby, what do you see when you see me?
I am not a refugee. I am not a asylum seeker. I am not destitute. I am not homeless. I am what I am. I am human being.
You take your revenge against my people as we struggle. You watch with your smug faces as our worlds turn to rubble. It's time to take our power back. I vow to stand with you, whoever you are and whatever you do. Our spirits will uplift together. Although you take my tears and my hair, we will keep fighting together to make this world fair.
I could be a supporter, a helper, a teacher, a friend. I could be a mother, an answer, or the doctor to help you mend. I could be the one who speaks up for your solution, or a steady force for status, calm, order, institution. I could be a deep force or a structured controller, or I could be your voice to fight foe or fire or fear. I could be an advocate, a bridge. What could be my scene? Whatever it is, I choose to be a fully fledged, caring human being.
Are you feeling dehumanised? Are you feeling isolated? Do you see no future? Does the cold cause you pain? Is being homeless dangerous? Do you have to wear boots in summer because you can't afford to buy sandals? I see your aim is to brainwash me into giving up and going away. You can give me cop-out phrases, but I won't be silenced. No amount of propaganda will stop me having my say. You may take away my welfare rights, but I will remain steadfast. I will stand up for the oppressed. I will stand by your side. My voice has won with your voice. I am my own person. Whenever you feel cold, hungry, homeless and alone with no future, I will stand with you and our voices will be heard.
I could be a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, a vet. I could be a mother, an artist, or a pilot of a jet. I could be the one who speaks up for revelation, or a steady force to make a change, calm, order, intuition. I could be a strutting model or a structural engineer, or I can march in, protest to fight for people to be treated as one. I could make a difference if only my voice could be heard. Whatever it is I choose to be, I would want to help make a difference to end poverty. I'm a full-fledged human being.
1, 2, 3, 4. We don't count, and that's for sure.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's time to influence the state.
9, 10, 11, 12.
Rise up, speak out for ourselves.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Here to tell you what's the score.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Voicing love, never hate.
9, 10, 11, 12.
Turn the tables, be yourselves. Be as one.
2, 3, 4.
So, Nikita.
Hello.
Hello. Can you tell us a little bit more about your story? What you'd like people to hear? Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, so I think people need to hear that actually poverty in its various forms is real. And I think that people need to have more awareness of actually what it looks like. There's not like one size fits all. It doesn't all look the same. Poverty is different for every single person in this room. And yeah, I think it definitely needs to be recognised.
Thank you. And just last question. One thing that would have helped you in your situation, what would that have been?
I think one thing that would have helped me at the time was to know that I wasn't alone, to know that actually there are services out there that can help me, and actually also to get that support in the sense that sometimes for me it wasn't as easy as leaving the house and going to a food bank. It was the anxiety of actually unlocking the door sometimes and, not actually being able to do that, to make my way on a bus to a food bank. And and I think also just a community would have really helped me. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So, Helen, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your story?
Well, I just try and help people as much as I can. I plan events to raise money for the local community so they can go on trips and things like that with help of Heather and the others. So you help a lot of people, don't you, in your community? And can you think of a situation, something that you would like to share, a struggle that somebody's had that maybe people out here might need to hear? My mind's just gone blank now, so no,
okay.
not really.
Okay, so you tell me that a lot of families struggle, don't they, to feed themselves, and things like clothing for their children, school uniforms, those sort of things. Is that right?
Yes, and like the school trips, it's even though they are low, the school fund some of it, it's still quite a big chunk out of somebody's benefit or low income to be able to afford that. And it's quite heartbreaking to not be able to send your kid on a school trip. So
yeah. And one thing that you would like to see changed, one thing that you think might make a difference.
More safer spaces for young people and adults in the area.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So Matt's been helping us with the kind of creative side of things, haven't you, Matt? And so he's heard a lot of stories. I just wonder, Matt, is there any kind of thing that you'd like to share, one thing that you'd like to share with everybody, anything that's really impacted you by what you've heard?
Well, first of all, I want you to acknowledge just the creativity and the excellence in this room. So, for example, the poems that you've heard recorded, have come from these artists. Part of what I do as well is I work in university and teach creative writing to students that this is all that they do. And I don't think any one of my students could write as brilliantly as the people in this room. So when we're also talking about poverty, I think we're talking about limited access to the arts as well. That's another form of poverty. And you've just seen within the space of a couple of months just how brilliant these pieces of work that they've produced. The other thing that I would say that's really struck me is just how community is just so important. And when we were first kind of hearing individual stories, there was a lot of isolation. There are services out there, but people needed almost like somebody to come alongside them and signpost them to these services. And I do think that what we've created here with this group is a community in itself. I know that many people have also, these stories have been kind of bigging up Derwent Oak, because that was a community that people can come together. So I think as we think about solutions for the city of Derby, I think that's one of the things that we need to be looking at as well, is how do we all connect and bring community? And I think a lot of these things will come out of that.
Christine, we've heard your story. It's a very powerful story. Would you like to say anything? Is there anything else you would like to say about your story, or anything you want these people here to hear?
Yes, today I want to let people know some law push many people in poverty. Please be gentle for asylum seeker. I don't know why you give this name to them, but it's very hard to them to go and sign every month. No food and tummy, no transport, nobody doesn't, it's like people is invisible. Please, you are important, and you can do something good to help community. Please be gentle.
Thank you very much.
So I just want to celebrate what we've just had, and I think it'll be a great opportunity now to give the whole group, as they've showed such vulnerability, they've shared from their heart, a massive round of applause. We're going to move into a little bit time now of audience participation. So there's a few things over the remaining kind of 40 minutes or so. We will finish on time, I promise, with a bit of feedback. So that's what I want to go into now. Sharon has got a roaming mic, and she's going to go around the room. And what we would love is just feedback or responses on one of two things. Maybe something has struck out to you in section 1 from the stories you've heard. Or maybe you would just like to talk about the things that started to come out in your table activity, how you see Derby, strengths, assets, or deficits, hurdles, barriers, that sort of thing. It could be about anything, but 10 minutes just to engage in conversation, because we want the Poverty Truth Commission to be two-way. It's not one-way. So it'd be great to hear from you. If you could put up your hands. There is a note I need to say as well. Regarding food. Your buffet trays need to be returned to the place. If you could please keep them safe, that would be amazing. But yeah, gentleman over there.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Afran, and I'm from the Department of Work and Pensions. Briefly, a bit about myself. I've lived in Derby most of my life. I was relocated into Derby when my parents split because of domestic violence. We was initially in a women's refuge, then we moved into Kitchener Avenue. My mum was on benefits, and unfortunately there were times where we felt that benefit was going to get removed. And I know that feeling, and it's a difficult feeling. At 43, I'm coming to terms with maybe some of our experiences and kind of coming to terms with being able to talk about them and share them. So thank you so much today to everybody who shared their experiences. I know it takes a lot of courage and bravery to do that. And thank you. It's only through hearing and sharing and understanding these experiences can we start thinking about what we need to do differently. What I really want to do with the Job Centre team in Derby is take away the video from today, to actually listen to your stories, to have conversations about how we want you to feel and how we can maybe adjust what we're doing to make sure that happens. And that only happens through people like you being brave to speak up. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
That is absolutely amazing, and that entirely kind of sums up this model. I know commissions that have been before us in different parts of the country. There are people from the business and civic world who face the same struggles, and that empathy can't always be shown because the job might create a barrier to that being shown, but hopefully through these sort of dialogues we can create that common ground, and thank you so much. Anyone else at all?
Is there anyone else that wants to share?
Doesn't have to be anything incredibly deep, just maybe a bit of feedback on your table activity. Or
Hiya. All I want to say really is how powerful Christine's, everybody's was, but obviously Christine's really hit home at a time where there's a lot of negativity around humans wanting to find a better life and escape some horrible things. And I think that video should go out to a lot of people, maybe schools, online. You know, people need to understand, you know, there's a story behind that person and it's actually their life. And that was very powerful, very brave and very emotional.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a good opportunity, actually. Christine asked during the break, she had a couple of words she wanted to say. Christine, do you want to share your words now that you wanted to share?
Thank you so much, everyone. I want just to say thank you to Red Cross, thank you to Orbit Community, thank you to Revd team, Mr. Tim and Bertie, Mr. Tim and Sally. Thank you to Jill Day. Thank you to Enya and his husband, because they raise me up. I am stronger when I am on their shoulder. Yeah, I am in life now because they raise me up. Thank you so much. Derby share.
Thank you. What Christine has just said there might have been some phrases at the end that you recognise from the song You Raise Me Up. We have created a playlist, which is what you've been hearing during the break and before we came in. And Christine's song that she put on it was You Raise Me Up by Christine. And that helps her to feel a sense of safety, etc., in situations like this. So I would encourage you to go home and maybe listen to that song and think of Christine and her story going forwards. Anything else? Any other responses or feedback, Helen?
Hi, I'm Heather from Enthusiasm, and it was myself that Helen kept talking about. But all I'd like to say is that Helen and the team of volunteers that work at Enthusiasm over Christmas went absolutely above and beyond. The amount of support they gave back to the community, the amount of hours they put into a centre, that kept the centre doors open, because there's only so much a small team can do. But the power of the volunteers within the Osmus and Allington community that Helen helps oversee is a power to itself. And she often doesn't like me saying or singing her praises, so she's going to probably kill me for actually getting hold of this microphone. But what they do, they don't realise the power that they give back to empowering other families and other mums and other dads in the community. And they really do, as a network of mums, support each other without me even being there. They don't even realise that they're doing it. But they really do support each other, look out for each other, try and find those extra things that they can support within the community. If we're not running it, they'll come to me and they'll be like, Heather, what can we do? How can we support this? And there's a real mighty little team of little warriors in our community, and we're absolutely blessed to have them. So thank you, Helen.
Thanks. Yes, Helen from Community Action Derby. So just in your reference to songs there, throughout listening to all of the stories, which, you know, it was thank you for sharing. It was like quite emotional listening to them, and it's great that you're able to share and hopefully get the support or some support towards what you need. But I was just saying to Tash next to me, there's a song from a singer called Sam Fender. So I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's from Newcastle, which is where I'm from.
Vested interest there, Helen.
But the line in that song, and I'm not going to sing it, is, it's I see my mother, the DWPC number. And I think that's one message that I've got from today, is that there's a person behind every number. And I think that's all I wanted to share, really.
Thank you. We've maybe got time for one more person before, if anyone else has anything. No, that's absolutely fine. What we're going to do now is, when we were planning this event, we watched a couple of videos from other events that have happened across the country, and we're going to borrow with pride. What has happened in Hull and perhaps a couple of other places is their commissioners have read out the second half of a sentence. So we've started the sentence with, if you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see. And then our group have filled out the rest of that sentence. And we're going to hear now from each of our commissioners, one by one, to complete that sentence for us.
If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see an insecure person with doubts and fears that struggles to find where I belong in this big, overwhelming hive of people. But I know I have so much to offer. I know I can now get my voice heard, and I know my thoughts and ideas are useful. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see I have to fight a lot to be seen as an equal part of the hive, and not an illness in a wheelchair on oxygen with mental health problems. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see I cry myself to sleep at night, and that I just need to feel at peace with my life every day. I'm getting there with God's help. Thank you.
If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see how I struggle to cope on a daily basis because of mental health, how I hope for acceptance, how I doubt my ability to survive, how I overcome my fears and demons, how I've learnt to cope by helping others, how I've managed to maintain my life and beat expectations of being nothing, how I've managed great achievements in helping and supporting others.
I wish you could see me on a bad day when I can't get out of bed. I wish you could see the extent of the trauma that's in my head. I wish you could see me not on medication when I can switch like a light. I wish you could see the sadness in me that worsens at night. I wish you could see I'm in therapy and I'm trying not to drown. I wish that you could see that sometimes I get down. I wish you could see the clutter of my world and of my mind. I wish that you could hear the thoughts, they are harsh and unkind. I wish you could see all of me, not just when I'm having a good day. I wish you could recognize the pain that I'm in and know the right things to say. But you say the wrong things, like, have a cup of tea. A cup of tea won't fix me. A cup of tea won't fix me. You see me when I'm good, but I also have down days. And when I tell you that I'm struggling, you tell me that it's just a phase. Please recognize there's more to me than what you see when I'm good, because sometimes I feel like I'm crawling through mud. Please recognize I'm human, who has days of yellow and blue. Please recognize I'm trying, and I might ask for help from you. Please recognize I'm human just like you. Please recognize I'll keep trying, and I'll continue to push through.
If you could spend a day in my shoes, you will see fear is a bigger killer. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you will know what is depression, anxiety, panic attack, headache, and pain is. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you will feel shame to go to sign with Home Office and love prayer every month with empty stomach, with fear and blame yourself and try to kill yourself. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you feeling what mean torture, you will ask yourself, am I a bad person? Why I cannot walk? Why I going to sign every month? If you could spend a day in my shoes, you will not have a future, no choice for that you eat, nowhere to live. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you will have God for your strength, hope and friends for your comforts. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you will move house and house, nobody to hear you, mental health issue, no sleep, chronic pains, body shakes, lonely, no choice, want to die, panic attack. If you could spend a day in my shoes, be poor of lovely friends, to be and live after all for what you go through it. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you will hold back by Home Office and solicitor. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you will hope to have second chance to move on your life, go to college and become ambassador for widows and orphans, who will pass all the time with flashback for your trauma.
Walk in my shoes. Experience the life no one would choose. Wake every morning with pain and fear. Walk in my shoes and see I'm no benefit scrounger or a low life. Walk in my shoes along my path. See my compassion. Walk in my shoes, hear the abuse from those cruel and all the uncaring. Walk in my shoes, struggle with all the obstacles being disabled have to endure. Bus drivers who deny us the front of the bus, lack of disabled toilets, closures of libraries and community centres, drivers who show us disregard for our disabled parking spaces by taking them themselves and have no blue badges. Restaurants who don't cater for special diets we have. Walk in my shoes and for sure you'll realise what we endure. Then go forth in battle to improve our failing world.
So these are Julie's words. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would realise that a miserable lady in the bus queue once drove her own car, but was unexpectedly told by the hospital that the poor eyesight she was experiencing at night was due to glaucoma, and that she would have to inform the DVLA who told her to send her driving licence back immediately. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would realise that my miserable sense of desolation and isolation is not self-deserved, but has come by having all the doors repeatedly shut in my face by the council, citizens' advice, and so on. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would realise that if I see old neighbours or former friends in Derby, I tend to avoid them, as they say, there's plenty of jobs about for trained nurses. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see that I get called anorexic by people who don't seem to want to know that I struggle with faulty stomach valves. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see that I used to be an assertive person, a deputy matron in a nursing home, but slowly, over time, I had to look after both of my parents, who ended up living separately. What we would like to do now is, because we believe there's power in that sentence starter there, when we watched Whole read out their sentences, our group paused and there was a definite sense of power in the room. We would love for you to join, and this is all anonymous. Join on the Slido that's represented here. If you've got a mobile phone to hand, you'll find the QR codes and the stuff on your tables as well. Maybe to consider writing in your own anonymous, if you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see. And hopefully, these will start rolling through on screen, and there'll be a leveller across this room between those who are residents of Derby, those who are in positions of power and influence of Derby. We will see that across this room, there are struggles that we all face, that we all hold back or in secret or under cloak. So as a model of what the Poverty Truth Commission is going to be going forwards, we're creating that equal platform for all. We were hoping that you might join in with us now. So we'll give 5 minutes for this to come through, a couple of minutes, and hopefully some will start appearing on screen momentarily. So if you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see that I care. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see that I am passionate. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see that every single day is a battle and that I'm just trying to survive. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would also see that I struggle. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle to hear you. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see that I'm not always fine, that I'm wanting to change to occur, that I have low self-worth. I'm struggling to keep up here with the sweeties are coming through. I'm standing with you. That I care and want to make a difference to people's lives. If you could spend a day in my shoes, you would see that we all have trauma that nobody else can see. That I have empathy, that change is positive, that I hear you, that what's on the surface, that they're going too fast, that I'm not invisible, that I come overconfident but doubt my abilities at all times. I have a very good poker face and smile when inside I'm fighting, that I am here to help you. That I do know that you are a valuable person, that change is possible. That we stand with you. Just do another minute or so. that I also struggle, that I recovered. That I want to help if I knew how. That I'm not always fine. That I just keep putting one foot forwards. That I struggle. That together we can make change for the better. Final few seconds. That each of us just, if each of us just helped one more person, ... what could happen? That I will try and change and challenge a system that creates the barriers for you whilst working in it. You would see the pain that I feel does not always show. When someone asks me if I'm all right, I automatically say yes, even when I'm not. Thank you all for joining in with that. So there's this sense in the room that actually we're all have our own hurdles, our own barriers, things that we're struggling against day by day. It's not just this group of 7 that's on the table down here, but it is a Derby-wide issue. It's a human being issue. What we're going to do now is we're going to work out what happens next. We've heard people's stories, people's testimonies. What happens next? Like the video we saw right at the beginning, this model only works if there's 2 sets of people involved. We've got set 1, group 1, who are our community commissioners. They are the people with wisdom by lived experience. What we need is for a second group of people to join. That is the people with power and influence, the people who are dedicated to listening, who are dedicated to learning, and that's a 2-way thing, who are dedicated to joining the journey for the next 9 months or so, of however long is left of this commission. We're going to watch a video which might spark some interest, perhaps. As you're watching this video, I'd like you to think, could I be involved in this? Or maybe think, oh, I know someone in my workplace, or I know someone in my community who might be suitable for this. So I'll flick that on now, and please do consider those questions.
If the Poverty Truth Commission was a meal, it would be slow cooked. The precise recipe will be different depending on the local context, but the base ingredient is always relationships. Vital to these relationships are people who are willing to bring their whole selves to the process and share their stories. To cook things just right, allowing these stories to emerge and relationships to build will require good amounts of bravery and vulnerability, equal measures of tears and laughter, big glugs of commitment and kindness, and a healthy dash of trust. We mix these things together, and the cooking process begins. In creating the space of a Poverty Truth Commission, we know that rushing to results rarely creates long-term healthy change. Slowing down, taking time to really listen to each other, allowing relationships to deepen and flourish, all starts to let the rich flavours of a commission begin to emerge. By peeling back lanyards, labels and stigma, we create something unique and collective together. A richness that develops from the unusual relationships between people experiencing the struggle against poverty and people in senior civic and business roles. A Poverty Truth Commission's focus on building relationships through deeper reflection and taking time helps us go beyond the microwave dinners of many committees, consultations, and even co-production to a truly satisfying and fulfilling community meal where people can go further together and act from a place of enjoying one another's company. This slowness can feel very different when we are used to quick decisions. The quality of ingredients and time taken to simmer together creates rich results, cooking up change that lasts.
As a businessman, the relational approach of
Being
the
involved
Poverty
in the
Truth
Poverty
Commission
Truth
I felt my
made me
voice was
realise
meaningless.
that
I have
well-developed
poor work-life balance. I didn't think I could affect Working it with well. the Poverty Now I Truth can. Commission I has do. changed my life dramatically. Spending
less time in the office.
If a Poverty Truth Commission was a meal, it would be slow cooked. With time, patience, and the building of genuine relationships, it serves up an opportunity for real change. To learn more, get in touch with the Poverty Truth Network at povertytruthnetwork.org.
So I have to say thank you to the Poverty Truth Network for that video, because it absolutely fell in my lap about 2 days ago when it was produced. So perfect timing. But yeah, are you interested in entering new relationships, to committing for a year or so to building what will become friendships? One person who has expressed an interest already and provisionally agreed to be part of the commission going forward is a friend, Tring-Willis, who is also the head of housing management at Derby Homes. I've just asked him to come up now to just briefly say what's captured him about this.
And thank you, James, and thank you to the community commissioners. It's been really moving, very motivating, and very, very powerful messages. And I guess going back to this, it's that second group of people we need now. I'm not new to the Poverty Commission. I was on the steering group before in a previous role, but I have now moved into a new role at Derby Homes. And actually the business and civic commissioner role, I feel, really fits with that new role that I have. I've been listening to the stories, Jane's story about the boiler, that's a housing provider, and also Julie's story, because I suspect Julie is one of our customers at Derby Homes, and we can do better. And I firmly believe that we can do better by learning from our customers more and hearing the challenges that you have. And so really it is this appeal that if you are in that position where you can affect change within the system, then we need to be sat alongside each other making that happen. And I've been chatting to a few colleagues in the room earlier. Afran sat over there. I know you've said a few words already. Me and Afran have worked together on youth unemployment initiatives, and we've achieved great stuff when people work together. I know Afran's indicated he would support and become a business and civic commissioner. I've also got a colleague here, Sheena. Sheena is Derby City Council's bereavement services, and funeral poverty is a real issue. People don't realise, the fact that many will die in poverty, leaving already family members who are stretched with those unexpected bills. So I think poverty touches across so many different themes. It's really important that we develop a group of business and civic commissioners that can reflect that and work with those affected by it to make that change. So that is the appeal from me. I'm going to leave you with a bit of a quote because I felt quite spiritual today. I can't help myself. And rather aptly, it's Sir Francis of Assisi. James is looking at me now, worrying what I'm going to say. But the quote is, start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. So I'll leave you with that.
And so, you might remember right back at the beginning, 2 hours ago, me and Sharon stood on stage and we mentioned about there being leaves on your table, and we also mentioned about the blossom being on your table. The blossom is an opportunity for those of you who perhaps can't be a part of the commission for whatever reason, but still feel affected by what you've heard today. And maybe you could answer the bottom two questions. As a result of what I've heard today, I will. Or as a result of what I've heard today, our organisation will. If you could write pledges to those questions on the blossom, and then as you're leaving today, to pop it on the tree, and we would love to populate a blossom tree of what is going to be done across Derby as a result of today. Or maybe you are thinking, oh, I perhaps would be interested in being a Business and Civic Commissioner. There's an A5 sheet of paper on your table with a tick box and to capture some details. Please fill that in and leave it in your transparent box on your table. Or there's a third ask as well. We would love some more people to join the group who have that wisdom by lived experience, who are struggling against poverty in one way or another. The initial video we saw said that a typical commission takes up between 12 to 15 people from each group. We're a commission of 7, so we're a little bit light. So if you're perhaps in that position where maybe that fits you, also fill out that same A5 bit of paper. We were going to leave space for you to do that now and get up, but what we're going to do is, because time is on our side, is we're going to begin to wrap up. There's a number of thank yous to say as to what has made today happen and made today a fantastic event. Firstly, the man with a beard who randomly appeared in the middle of the creative section is a man called Matt, who 4 months ago, I had no idea who he was, and I was introduced to him as being someone who could really help share and shape the stories that we're hearing and make them into a presentation effectively, who can work with our commissioners in building confidence in what is an incredibly panic-inducing environment. And Matt has done an absolutely fantastic job. He has not only gotten to know deeply the individual stories, but he has managed to treat them with honour and respect in what he has created. So I'd love to give Matt a big round of applause. And Matt, also, if you would like to come up. We have a little something for you there from the Commission, so thank you so much for your work. Matt has been travelling in from kind of the Derbyshire, Greater Manchester border every day this week to make this happen, through train journeys and cars and all sorts, so he's an absolute hero. Secondly, I have a very heartfelt thank you to give to Sharon Murphy. Sharon has been absolutely fantastic, is coming alongside me, come on up Sharon, as a co-facilitator. She has the deepest pastoral heart I've potentially ever witnessed. And it is so unfortunate that Sharon is having to leave the Commission at this point. She is taking up another role within the Church of England over in Cumbria, so she's going to be leaving the city in a few weeks. Which is why we've put the launch event now, so that Sharon can see it effectively. So we're so thankful for you, Sharon. I am going to be lost without you. I also have a little something for you as well. So if we can give Sharon a massive round of applause for all that she has done for us. Do you want to say it here, Sharon? Sharon, do you want to say it here? And then also, finally, the 7, as I'm calling them, the Magnificent 7. If you're able to come up on stage, if you want to come up on stage, or if you could just make yourself known. So we have Nikita, Elaine, Denise, Jane, Helen, Christine, and then Julie, who unfortunately isn't able to be with us today. These 7 have, they entered the process, I think, not having a clue what they're getting into, because I sold it so badly. But they turned up regardless, and they have produced something absolutely magical. I'm so glad that I get to work with you and call you my colleagues effectively, and I look forward to the next year together. And to say our thank you, we have flowers for you each as well. And then also we were struggling so much with a venue for today, and Derby City Church stepped in fairly last minute to make this happen. So I'm so thankful to them. So a thank you to Derby City Church as well.
So just want to say a really big thank you to James. We've got you a little gift. Hope I do. I just want to say how impressed I've been with James and the way he's worked to get this to happen. And this last week, I don't think he has stopped for a minute. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you so much for your attendance today. I think it was so important that you were in the room. And I mean that on an individual level, that you were in this room. We can't let it die out here. We've got a lot more to do. So please do consider your pledges and either pop them on the tree or back in the box. Thank you so much.